the difference in our kitchen floor now when the robot goes and vacuums every day because it's on a schedule versus when we would have to go sweep and vacuum the house.
Sure, absolutely, because it just happens same time every day, taken care of.
If you deal with the mess when it's small, then there's no big mess.
Mm-hmm.
If you deal with the hurt when it's small, you're less likely to have the bigger hurts.
Absolutely, or the explosion, right?
You may be one choice away from a thriving marriage. Welcome to the Operation Thriving Marriage podcast with Bryon and Jennifer Harvey.
Welcome back to the Operation Thriving Marriage podcast with Bryon and Jennifer Harvey. And behind the glass, making sure we sound relatively good. Any of the mistakes, if we sound bad, it's our fault. Anything that we sound good on, that's all Todd.
Which is true. That is very, very true.
So, in this episode, we're going to talk about something a little bit uncomfortable because the reality is, if you love someone long enough, you're going to hurt them. It's not because you're cruel. It's because you're human. Between recording, Todd shared a joke. It's like, you're the last person I want to hurt, but you're still on the list. I mean, it's still, I don't want to hurt you, the last person, but that list exists. And it can be selfish actions that can be intentional or unintentional, but it's still things that we do that we hurt our spouses.
And sometimes, you know, again, this comes from Unexpectations. We've had some episodes on that. These are the unvoiced, unshared, and unreasonable expectations that we all have sometimes. And when these expectations go unmet, it can be very painful. Now, we haven't titled this episode Love Stinks, but I'm thinking that song, this is like, you know, from 1980, Love Stinks.
Of course, Jen's got another song
from the 80s. Of course I do. But we're not talking about Love Stinks today. We are talking about how love survives and even grows through these moments that end up breaking our hearts.
Isn't there a song, Love Hurts?
Well, that's another one.
Oh, see, so you could have had that one.
That's another one. So 80s or 90s. Thank you very much.
Hopefully, Todd can make me sound better singing those two words. We'll see how that goes.
Auto-tune.
He's shaking his head.
He
He's
says,
like,
no.
There's nothing I can do with that.
But I think that we see things where imperfection feels like failure in the 2020s, or at least it seems that way to me, because many couples believe that conflict or hurt means something's wrong with their marriage. It's never going to work out. We're never going to be happy.
And that's so silly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and if you feel that way, I'm not making fun of you. I just want you to understand that the reality is we're still human. And you didn't marry the wrong person, and your marriage isn't doomed to failure because something bad happened in it.
And you shouldn't just crumble up the marriage and throw it away and then find another one, because guess what? You're going to experience different imperfections with somebody else.
Absolutely.
And that's just how we are as imperfect human beings, because we're all still on the journey to full sanctification. Not satisfaction, friends, but sanctification. We still wrestle with sin, and in so doing, we hurt those that we love the most, even if we don't want to, even if we're not intending to. And the reality is that we do greater damages to our marriage when that damage begins when we hide truth to avoid conflict, when we downplay emotions to protect our spouse's feelings, and when we turn honesty and accusation when frustration ends up overflowing.
And these are so common things. I mean, just hiding the truth to avoid conflict.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, something as simple as breaking a dish, and that was a dish or a coffee mug that your spouse really liked, and you just throw it away, and 6 weeks later your spouse is asking, hey, where's my favorite mug? I don't know what happened to it. Yes, you do. You broke it, you threw it in the trash, and you hid it.
That's right.
You know?
Yeah.
And it happens. Or downplaying your emotions, like, I'm really, really so angry, but no, I'm okay. It's nothing where you're trying to protect your spouse's feelings. It's like, no, you're actually ticked off, and you're not helping by not being honest with your spouse.
And of course, you want to make sure that you're not creating habits that create emotional distance and teach both of you that honesty isn't safe, because you need to be honest in a thriving marriage.
And that means being honest enough to hurt, and that, yes, I broke your favorite mug. And being honest, saying, it really hurts me that you didn't care enough about that mug and you knew it was special to me.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to be honest in those moments, and it's tough. But over time, you're just going to stop being fully known. You're going to break the connection and closeness, and you're going to have a marriage that slowly suffocates. You're going to suffocate all the love out of a marriage. And you think, oh, I'm protecting the marriage by avoiding hurt. You're actually destroying it.
Yeah. And it's just interesting because you come into that conundrum because you think kind of brushing something under the rug might make everything okay, but it just gives you that whitewashed tomb.
Exactly. Eventually, it's going to explode, and it's going to be a big, ugly mess.
No doubt about it. And I was thinking, if a whitewashed tomb explodes, that could be a really big, ugly mess. Thank you.
Well, I was just thinking, we recently got the robot vacuum. And so thank you, Todd and Bev, because they had one and they said it was working well for them. And so we recently got one.
His name is Joshua. We named him. So
Yes.
it's Jaws, like
Yes.
Joshua.
Because it's a shark brand.
Sure.
We're not getting paid by them, but anyway. But I think about the difference in our kitchen floor now when the robot goes and vacuums every day because it's on a schedule versus when we would have to go sweep and vacuum the house.
Sure,
It's just-
absolutely. Because it just happens same time every day, taken care of.
If you deal with the mess when it's small, then there's no big mess.
Mm-hmm.
If you deal with the hurt when it's small, you're less likely to have the bigger hurts.
Absolutely. Or the explosion, right?
Yes.
And I think that when you've been hurt, it's important to start communicating that you've been hurt in loving ways. So we always talk about just the way to approach things and talk and, hold your spouse's heart in your hands in a very gentle way to create that durable marriage. So instead of the accusation of "you hurt me" was, wow, this is how I feel when this thing happened, and not sugarcoating or saying that your spouse wasn't a part of that, but just being able to address the hurt in ways that are better going to be received, because honest feelings invite connection, but accusations are going to invite being defensive.
And so it's starting with a fact. When you X, this is a fact. It's not a value statement. And make sure that you're talking about an action, something objective, something that is observable.
Mm-hmm.
Not when you feel that. It's like, no, when you use that tone when you're talking to me, when you broke that thing, when you did not empty the trash like I asked, I felt. You start with a fact, you share your feeling, because they can't argue either of those things, right?
Mm-hmm.
They can argue why they did or didn't do that, which is not helpful, but they can't argue that the trash didn't get taken out. They can't argue that the mug wasn't broken. No, it's broken. And they can't argue that you did or did not feel that way, because it's your feelings.
Sure.
So that's starting with, okay, let's start with things that we can observe, and that creates that connection and this vulnerability. Then it can start building the bridge to healing the hurt. And we've shared in this, for the sake of illustration, some minor things that maybe for you, maybe that was a mug that has been in the family for generations or something like that. But this is anything going on. When you're hurt, we want to build that bridge to healing.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And as you mentioned, vulnerability is that bridge between misunderstanding and healing. Another thing to do is to stay close in these hard moments. So, don't pull away after saying to your spouse that something was painful to you.
Or don't pull away if you've had to say something to your spouse that is painful.
Sure, absolutely.
Because it's painful if I tell you that you hurt my feelings about something.
Mhm.
That hurts you.
Sure.
You know, that I mean, we have to have that. We have to deal with that. But I can't, if I say that, I can't just pull away. It's like, okay, now I've just dropped this bomb and now we're just both hurt.
Mhm.
We haven't healed. We haven't connected. Now we're just both hurt.
Sure. And you want to stay emotionally present through touch, through tone, through eye contact. And I think that we all know that sometimes you need to take a break because sometimes it's like, okay, I don't want to talk about this right now. I need some space. I want to make sure that I'm praying. We've talked about this in past podcasts where sometimes, you need to take a little bit of time and do that kind of unplugging to be healthy. But when you're with your spouse, you want to make sure that you're emotionally present.
Yeah. And I would say, too, be careful with the touch because for me, I'm a big physical touch person, but you're not. And so someone who's...
No, I am not.
Yeah. It could actually make things worse if you're trying to connect and you reach out and touch someone who's not ready to be touched.
Oh, sure.
And so be careful of that as well. But you want to communicate, and what you're trying to do is we're still on the same team even when it's hard.
Yes.
And matter of fact, you've talked about some things through your experience through mediation, like going for a walk, standing side by side rather than face to face.
Mm-hmm. And some of these things, they're not necessarily for couples, right? But it's just people who have gotten entrenched in something, maybe like a legal battle. Maybe it's between family members over an estate or over a trust. And how do you come alongside each other to just try to resolve the dispute? Like you said, you get yourself moving so you're not just sitting for a conversation and you're just entrenched in your position. You start moving and side by side together and go on a walk. That's a good way to break some things up there.
Yeah, those techniques, they're useful for legal mediation, but they're also good for couples just to know human tendencies and human behavior to help you work through those struggles that you're facing.
And when you've hurt your spouse, you want to make sure that you're listening to your spouse's response with patient love. And, sometimes, hearing that back that you've hurt your spouse, sometimes you want to get on that defensive and you need to do everything you can to not. And again, just sit in that and listen to what your spouse has to say with that patient love, because when your spouse shares their pain, you need to resist this kind of explaining or fixing or how do you repair that. You need to stay curious and ask your spouse to explain, what their experience was and what it felt like and what made them feel that way. Why did they feel that way?
Yeah, create space and provide opportunity for your spouse to introspect and then invite them to share that and create room for growth. I mean, we talk about this time and time again that marriage is about holiness, not happiness. Marriage is about us being formed in Christ's likeness. And these are the times when we are most formed, is when we're dealing with our own foibles and failings. And when we hurt each other, that's usually sin in our lives that we've fallen victim to again. And how do we deal with that?
Oh, sure. Creating that room for growth without any kind of shame or without any other kinds of repercussions.
Right.
As to that. And it's important to let God redeem the rough edges that have come out and let him really make something beautiful out of it, because marriage is about holiness and not happiness. And allow these experiences to draw you deep into the heart of the Father and let the Holy Spirit use it to transform you into the person that you've been called to be, because going through these tougher times, tougher experiences, learning more about yourself, learning more about your spouse and how we can treat each other in better and more godly and more loving ways, that is bringing Christ out of us.
Absolutely. It's just the unfortunate reality that every couple is going to have bruises.
Mm-hmm.
And we mean that metaphorically. Physical bruises are not okay.
Mm-hmm.
But metaphorically, every couple's going to have bruises. And that doesn't mean that love failed. When this happens, it doesn't mean that you screwed up and things are over and done with. It means you stayed. It means you didn't give up. You didn't let the evil one win that one.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't let sin overcome you. You learned. You rebuilt. The only way you're truly going to have a thriving marriage is if you embrace who you are today and let God use your marriage to help you become tomorrow who God intends and created you to be.
Because you've built that marriage on that foundation, which is Christ.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to the Operation Thriving Marriage podcast. We appreciate all of you. If you enjoy this podcast, please rate and subscribe and share it with other people. That really helps us build this message out to others.
Jen and I started Operation Thriving Marriage to help couples and churches take marriages from merely surviving to thriving. We've got our book, we've got a blog, and resources for our coaching ministry, and you can bring us out for an Operation Thriving Marriage experience. For more information, go to operationthrivingmarriage.com. That's operationthrivingmarriage.com.